kill sea otters. We hunted all of them. And that is a terrible thing to think of, right? Imagine a world without sea otters. It's devastating to think about, right? But that was the reality that we had here in British Columbia. And not only did we lose these incredibly cute and silly animals, our oceans were permanently changed because of this. Can you raise your hand if you've ever seen a kelp forest before? You've heard of kelp forests, a couple of us. Awesome. If you haven't, no worries. It's an incredible ecosystem that exists here in BC. It looks like this. This is a good idea of what it looks like. That big fish tank inside where you saw sturgeons and salmon, that is a great example of a kelp forest too. Really tall kelp that's home to millions of different animals that rely on the cover of this kelp to survive. But without sea otters here in British Columbia, our kelp was really, really vulnerable because sea urchins weren't being eaten by sea otters anymore. And sea urchins are animals just like you and me. Their favorite food? So believe it or not, in a matter of 100 to 200 years, our coastlines went from looking like this to looking like this. This is what most of British Columbia's coastlines looked like in the early 1900s without the presence of sea otters. Only urchins and nothing else. Now I want you to imagine if you're an octopus or a salmon or a seal, does this look like a good place to live? No, right? So too spiky, indeed, my friend, absolutely, too spiky. No place to hide from predators, no place for food, no place for shelter, no place to raise your babies. So when we lost sea otters, we also lost all of the kelp and all of the animals that call the kelp forest their homes. That's pretty sad to think about, right? Now, we realized how sad this was. We decided to bring sea otters back to British Columbia. A bunch of crazy people got together and they thought, I think that we could bring sea otters back. Thankfully, the sea otters that live in Alaska and the sea otters that live down in California, they weren't all hunted the way that the ones in British Columbia were. So the first step we took was making sea otters a protected species. We couldn't hunt sea otters anymore. And then in 1969, a group of crazy people got together and they said, what if we took 89 otters from Alaska and brought them down to Vancouver Island and dropped them off? What would happen? So we did that. And now we can successfully say that those 89 otters have grown to a population of 9,000 sea otters here in British Columbia. And the areas where those sea otters are, the urchin populations have come back down to normal and the kelp forests have returned to those areas. So it's a major success story. Some people say it's one of the biggest successful conservation efforts of the modern era, which is pretty amazing and beautiful to think about. But 9,000 sea otters is not the 50,000 that we had to start with. So there's still a lot of work to do. And I have really great news for you guys that you've actually already been a positive part of these sea otter stories here today. Just by showing up to the aquarium, you make it possible for us to continue taking care of these animals, to participate in our rescue efforts with animals like sea otters, sea turtles, and sea lions, and the like. And you also learn about these animals as well too. Any opportunity where we learn more about the animals and the environments that we get to share on this big, beautiful planet is an opportunity that we should, really be proud of and really celebrate, because when we learn things, we can change how we navigate the world, right? If you want to continue the fight for sea otters and you want to see their populations grow, there's still some really great things that you can do. The best thing you can do to help out sea otters is to make sure that their homes are staying healthy and happy. Right now, we're talking a lot about creating more and more protected areas along our coastlines, where there's no fishing activity or boating activity or mining activity, to make sure that these pristine environments can stay pristine. Sea otters can only be healthy and have babies when they have a healthy place to live in. So using your voice to advocate for the protection of our coastlines, specifically in areas where sea otters live, is the single best way to ensure that these animals can continue to live the lifestyles that they do, protecting our kelp forests, and having the adorable babies that they are. So if you see